Okay, so we're going to move into solving absolute value equations. So we have just gotten finished graphing absolute value equations, and now we're going to find the answers. So I want to give you a little note here. The solution is the intersection of the graphs. So you can always think, all right, if I have the absolute value of x equals 6, then the answer to this is the intersection of the graphs. So think about this way. Y equals the absolute value of x and y equals 6. Where these two functions cross is the answer to the equation. So if I graph this, my y equals x, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 3, 4. I have start at 0, 0, 2, 2, and it looks a little bit like this. So I'm going to go ahead and graph y equals 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it looks like this. Oop, I didn't draw my line long enough. And so the intersection of this horizontal line and these, my absolute value equation is the solution. So this is a solution and this is a solution. So there are two answers. So if you think about it, it's crossing at positive 6 and it's crossing at negative 6. So that kind of gives you an idea of how we're going to go about solving these equations, because there could be two answers. And let's talk about this. If I have the absolute value of negative 8, then we know that that is a positive distance, right? Because it's the distance from 0. So this is just another way to think about it. And distance is always positive, so the absolute value of negative 8 is 8. But let's think about this as well, because if this is a positive 8, then it's also 8. So the number inside, or the value inside the radical, could be positive or negative. So the value inside the absolute value bars, I said radical and I said that wrong. Absolute value could be negative or positive. So let's turn this around. Here's an example. If I said the absolute value of x equals 8, let's look up here. What could x equal? Well, x could equal positive 8, right? Because the distance from 0 to 8 is 8. But the distance from negative 8 to 8 could also be 8. Or to 8, negative 8 to 0 could also be 8. So both of these answers are correct. So we have two answers, all right? Now we're going to get into actually solving them as equations. So I'm going to give you some steps here. So here are your steps. Step 1, you're going to isolate the absolute value. Step 2, you're going to write equivalent equations. One positive and one negative. Okay, one positive, one negative. Then you're going to solve both equations. Oops, equations. Add an A there. And then you're going to check your answer. Check your answer. Let's try this with one of them, okay? I'm going to do just one that has a one step. Here's my example number 1. If I say the absolute value of x plus 4 equals 6. We're going to solve this by following our steps. Isolate our absolute value. So that means this absolute value I need to get by itself. So that means that I need to get rid of this positive 4 by subtracting. So the absolute value of x equals 2. Now write equivalent equations. So I'm going to take the absolute value bars off because I'm going to say whatever's inside the absolute value could equal 2, or it could equal -2. Then I'm going to solve. Well, they're already solved, so those are my answers. Now let's check our answers and see if they're correct. If I plug in the absolute value of +2 plus 4, we're going to see if that equals 6. So the absolute value of +2 is 2 plus 4 equals 6. Well, 2 plus 4 is 6, so it checks out. Now let's see if the -2 works. Absolute value of -2 plus 4 equals 6. Is that true? So the absolute value of -2 is always positive, right? 2 plus 4 equals 6. And 6 always equals 6. So we check out. We have no extraneous solutions. Let's go into another example. Let's take one that has something inside. X minus 1, the absolute value of x minus 1 plus 3 equals 8. So first I want to follow my isolate the absolute value. So that means I'm going to get rid of everything that's not inside the absolute value bars, which is the 3, right? I want to get rid of the 3 first. So I'm going to subtract 3 on both sides. I have the absolute value of x minus 1 equals 5. Now my second is, let's see, is there anything else with the absolute value on this side of the equal sign? No, so we're good to go on. It says write equivalent equations, one positive, one negative. So we're going to say x minus 1 equals +5 and x minus 1 equals -5. Because whatever's inside that absolute value could be positive or it could be negative. Now let's go to 3. Solve both equations. Oop, I'm going to need more room. X minus 1 equals 5 and x minus 1 equals -5. So we're going to add 1 and add 1. So x could equal 6. That's one of my answers. And add 1, x could equal -4. That's another one of my answers. All right, so I have 2 answers. Let's check and see if they work. If I plug in 6 here, absolute value 6 minus 1 plus 3, does that equal 8? 6 minus 1 is 5. The absolute value of 5 plus 3 equals 8. Oh my goodness, I'm running out of room. 5 plus 3 is 8. We check out. All right, let's plug in -4. The absolute value of -4 minus 1 plus 3 equals 8. -4 minus 1 is -5. And the absolute value of -5 is +5 plus 3 is 8. So they both check out. All right,